welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the 172nd Akutagawa Prize announcement. It's been requested and it's been delayed. The announcement came out at the end of January. Like the third weekend of January, I believe, was the announcement. But here we are. We're doing it now. So if you're not aware, twice a year, the Akutagawa show, the Akutagawa Prize in Japan comes out. And it is the major literary prize in Japan. It is the prize that basically dictates what's going to get translated, pretty much, in terms of like the literary sphere. So any book that kind of shows up on this list, especially a winner, has a very likely chance of getting translated, and you'll see it in the next year or 2 years. Like this year, we're getting a few. I think two Akutagawa Prize winning books translated coming out. Like one's coming out next month, I think, possibly. So this is a very exciting list. It's one of my favorite lists. It's some of the best books that I read in Japanese and in translation. I've just so good. So 172nd Akutagawa Prize. Let's begin. There are always 5 nominees, and this year we have 2 winners. Well, actually, the last time we also had two winners. So again, 2 winners, double winners. So let me introduce you the 3 books that were nominated but did not win. And the first one is called Dance, and it is by Takenaka Yuuko. And basically, it's from the point of view of our narrator, who is this 23-year-old woman who is fairly recently graduated and in her first job. Seems like she's kind of in like the more like administrative side of things, which is fairly typical for new graduates. And basically, she's getting very frustrated with this one particular coworker who's a senior, who's about like in her young 30s probably. And she's frustrated with this senior, Miss Shimomura, because Shimomura has been taking a lot of vacation recently, has been taking a lot of days off recently. And because of that, our narrator is getting stuck with a lot of overtime work. So she is ready to just like really, take a moment to really talk to Shimomura, like really just like, ugh. She basically says she wants to slap the woman, but we're not quite there. But basically, she's ready to. There's a word in English that I'm looking for, but it's not going to come. She's just ready to talk to this woman in a very strong way to talk about what's going on. And it turns out that Shimomura admits that she has been taking a lot of vacation days because she is getting over a heartbreak. Basically, her engagement with her fiance was broken off, and the thing is that this is really big news, or it's big news, but it's like, it's a feel for her kind of moment. But the thing is that Shimomura also reveals that she broke off with her engagement with Mr. Tanaka, who also works in the office, and they broke off the engagement because Mr. Tanaka, he was having an affair with another woman from the office. So basically, there's this huge love triangle that's happening, and then Shimomura admits this, and it turns out Shimomura and our narrator kind of sort of bond over this. Basically, our narrator decides that instead of going after Shimomura for missing all these days off work, she's like feels for her and helps her get through these emotions. And basically, they form a friendship based off of this. And then later on in the book, we get like a few years later, and then a few more years later, and a few more years later. So the book is about this sort of dance between all the coworkers, and this dance between Shimomura and our narrator, and how they sort of just all interact with one another. So that is the first nominated book that did not win. It's called Dance by Takenaka Yuuko. The next book had the weirdest introduction when it came to like the nomination. It was really strange. Like, it was so hard to find a synopsis for the book. People were just talking about how the author's a poet. they kept talking about the author and just gave no descriptions whatsoever about what the book is. But the book we're talking about is Ji Suberi, and it's by Nagae Yūki. So this book is the book that actually probably excites me the most. Once I actually found a synopsis, it was the book that was like, oh, okay, I'm into this. So Ji Suberi is, in the most easiest way to translate, would be word slip. Although the thing is that because Japanese is made up of characters, and the way this book is going to be described, or how I'm going to describe it to you, it would be called like character slip, but basically character slip, word slip. So basically what's happening in the book, that there's this strange phenomenon going on where people are experiencing character or word slips. And what that means is that basically, like, Japanese is composed of 3 different alphabets. It consists of hiragana, katakana, and kanji. So kanji are all the characters that came from the Chinese language. Hiragana is kind of the alphabet that you use for like verb conjugations, or if for little kids, when they don't know their characters yet, they read mostly in hiragana. And then, like, as you get older and you go through the school system, you start to build in, like, it's like building in your vocabulary basically, but in the kanji. And then you have katakana, which is often used for like loan words. So if you were to say I went to McDonald's, then McDonald's would be written in katakana, and that would be a loan word. So basically there's this phenomenon where these character slips, these word slips, and what that means is that for like 10 minutes at a time, very randomly, you'll have the inability to pronounce any word that's in katakana, for example. So if you wanted to say McDonald's, you couldn't just say McDonaldo, in what would, because that would be written in katakana. You would have to say, I went to the food establishment. You can't even say restaurant, because in Japanese now they'd say restaurant. It's also a loan word from English. So you would have to say the food establishment with the golden arch that serves meat between slices of yeast-based food. Basically, if you wanted to cut out every word that uses katakana in Japanese, that's how you would have to say, I'm going to McDonald's to eat a hamburger, basically. So it can be katakana that sort of slips. It can be kanji that kind of slips. So for example, the kanji for the name of Shibuya, for example, people, to get around saying, well, they can't say Shibuya anymore, so they say like Shibutani. So they change, because the second kanji in Shibuya has different readings, depending on how depending on the word. And so you would choose a different reading for it to sort of get around that word slippage. So basically, yeah, there's all this really weird things that are happening with the Japanese language. Apparently, it seems to be worldwide. So I don't know how it would work with other countries and other languages. But in terms of Japanese, it has to do with like certain alphabets. You're unable to use them for certain, like, very brief moments of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And so you're introduced to this phenomenon, and then basically at this point, it introduces you to 3 characters who all have some sort of vetted interest in these slips. And what I mean vetted interest is obviously everyone who's being affected by this phenomenon is going to have an interest in it. But these 3 particular people, like, one writes a blog about these things, one is like trying to actually do research on the phenomenon, etc., etc. So they have more like profound interest. So basically what happens is one day they receive an invitation to stay at this inn, where apparently these word slips are a lot more frequent. So basically they would be able to observe them a little better because they happen more frequently. And so they go there to investigate, and this just creates this sort of like magical realism type of situation where they're dealing with this strange phenomenon. So that's basically the gist of this book. And I have to say, this one really, really interests me. And I think it'll be very interesting for people who like memory police. I think like that, like kind of magical realist kind of feeling. I think people that could be really well for people who like memory police. I've never read Elemental P, but I do know it's about letters of the alphabet that are being dropped out and then you can't use them anymore. So maybe if you're into elemental P, I think this book would be really good. And again, when the book was initially nominated, they couldn't stop talking about how the author is a poet. He uses his word, So I have a feeling that this book is probably really, really beautifully written and really explores the use of language. So that book I'm actually really curious to read. I'd really love to read that one, assuming it's not very difficult. So the last book that got nominated or is on the short list basically is a book called 二十四五, which is 24/5. And this book is by Norishiro Yuusuke. So this book is probably the most simple of the books to describe. Basically, you have your narrator, who is a 24/25-year-old writer, which is where the title comes from. And basically, she is on her way to the town Sendai, which is to the north of Tokyo. And she's going there to attend her younger brother's wedding. And basically, this event is happening after she's left her parents' home. It's been 2 years since she's left her parents' home, and it's been 5 years since the passing of her aunt, with whom it seems she had like a really touching relationship with. Basically, with her aunt, they would travel quite a bit, and Sendai was one of those cities they had the intention of traveling to. They had started planning to travel to, but they had just never got around to it. Because her aunt ended up passing away from cancer. So this book is definitely just a book that's exploring this young woman in her young 20s, and now she's exploring this city that she was supposed to explore with her aunt, but now she's by herself. But at the same time, she's creating new friendships, and she's interacting with her little brother, who's creating his own family, etc., etc. So 二十四五, so 24/5 is the name of that book. So let us now get to the first winner. The first winner is the author Andou Hosei. So Andou Hosei, who wrote the book Dotopia. Now, if you've watched my previous Akutagawa show videos, this author should sound familiar because this is his third nomination. So I do have a video for his nomination in 2023 for the 170th Akutagawa Prize winner when he was nominated for the Camouflaged Man. However, I never made a video for the 168th Akutagawa Show Prize in 2022 when he created Jackson Hitori, so Jackson by himself basically. I never created a video for that one. I skipped that. But this is basically, this guy's been nominated 3 times and he finally won. So congratulations. That's very, very exciting. So he won this time around for a book called DTOPIA. So let me read the blurb that was given. A newspaper, unfortunately I don't remember, I didn't write down which newspaper it was, but a newspaper when he won the prize gave a really good synopsis. So I'm going to read that out to you. Dotopia is set on the French Polynesian island of Bora Bora and centers on a reality show in which 10 men representing various countries and cities, including Los Angeles, London, and Tokyo, compete for the attention of Miss Universe. The story is told from the point of view of Momo, a Japanese and Polynesian non-binary person whose childhood friend is a contestant on the show. Set against the backdrop of a reality dating show where 10 men from around the globe compete for the affection of one woman, the selection committee praised the novel for its layered storytelling and exploration of themes such as sexual minority issues, colonialism, and identity. Now, when I presented his book in the 170th Akutagawa Prize video, it was also sharing a lot of similar themes. So he's very much about sort of minority issues, LGBTQ issues, identity issues, the type of issues that young men, a lot of times his protagonists are young men, so the issues that young men face in current society. So I think this one will be pretty interesting because, to be honest, there aren't too many books in the more well-known sphere of Japanese literature, I fear, that really discuss these topics. I mean, I remember, back in the day when Murakami Ryu, not in my back in the day, but Murakami Ryu's older works were very much focused on the underground. So when his book Almost Transparent Blue won the Akutagawa Prize, that was very much about Japanese underground. It was these books that you don't really hear about. Think about like what's really popular with Japanese books and translations recently, all the cozy library and cat books, and that's what, because of what's translated and what's presented abroad, people have certain images of what Japan is. And even within Japan, people have these certain images of what Japan is. It's polite, it's proper, we follow the rules, we participate in the society like we were raised to do. And so I think even Japanese within Japan are not very well versed in sort of these underground issues. So when Almost Transparent Blue really popped up about drugs and young youth who are like having like sex orgies and things like that was really, really like uncommon for people. And then when the book Hebini Piasu, Snakes and Earrings, that was another book by a different author who won, again, Akutagawa Prize, and that was about young youth who were sort of rebelling, and they were doing extreme piercings. The main character, she's a young woman who wanted to split her tongue just like her boyfriend. So these books, once in a while they do pop up, but it's still very much a world that's not super explored in Japanese literature. So it's very good, I think, to have a book like DTOPIA be translated. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself, to win the Akutagawa Prize, because that's going to give the opportunity for it to get translated and sort of like tell people, there is this side to Japan too. It's not all cozy cats and libraries and like, comfort. There's a lot more to explore. So very, very exciting for DTOPIA. And then the other book that won is totally different, totally different. And this one is another book where I'm just kind of like, where is this going? Whenever I read the synopses. But the book is Geethe wa subete wo itta, which is by Suzuki Yui. And the book is translated to, actually, how do you say this? So it's the German author Goethe, I think is how you pronounce them, Goethe. So the very famous German novelist who, I just realized I've never actually pronounced this person's name in real life. So I think it's Goethe. So Goethe said it all. And this is a first nomination and first win for Yu Suzuki. So very, very exciting. Now, what is the novel about? So again, because this it got a proper, like very well written blurb in the news article, so I'm just going to read what it is. The novel features the protagonist, a researcher of German literature, specifically Goethe, who discovers an unknown quote from Goethe and at a restaurant. So basically he's at a restaurant and like there's a little like, like how sometimes like on chopsticks, some restaurants will like print like a fortune, or they'll print like quotes, or just things like that. So this researcher of German literature, specifically Goethe, he's like the #1 researcher in this author, finds this quote in the most random place in a restaurant, just like on a napkin or like a chopstick paper holder. And he's never encountered this quote before, so he's not really sure if it's actually good or not. So he decides he's like going to like embark on a quest to find its origin, basically, because he wants to use the quote himself, but he's like, he doesn't want to use it if it's not actually from the author, basically. So he goes on this huge sort of like research quest to find it. And so the newspaper says the book delves deeply into the meaning of language through its scholar protagonist, who discovers an unknown quote by the influential German writer, which leads him on a journey to authenticate it. And all of this amid a colleague's scandal involving accusations of plagiarism. So, sorry, I just popped my neck. I wasn't expecting that. So I think you're having two sides of the coin. You have one person who refuses to use any material until he specifically is able to properly attribute it to the writer that it's supposed to belong to, and then you have the other side, this person who is willing to plagiarize and take someone else's work and make it their own. So you have like sort of two sides of the coin that are being explored in this book. In the newspaper, the author Yui Suzuki is quoted as saying, "This award feels like a significant step for me personally as I navigate my path as a writer. I want to write stories on timeless love and ode narratives, even as current trends lean towards chaos and absurdity." So just a really good mix. Like, that's what I really love about the Akutagawa Prize, is that it's always a good mix of books. There's always like, they never resemble one another. They do, I mean, they are literary fiction, so they are very often going to tackle social issues within Japan, which is why a book talking about like minority issues and colonialism and like LGBTQ issues is definitely going to be like the type of book that's the community is going to be interested in. But like, seriously, you have something that explores like a young woman dealing with the emotions due to the death of her aunt. You have another woman dealing with sort of like workplace relationships. You have another book that has a more magical realism, magical realist like side to it that deals with like the use of language, specifically in this book probably Japanese language, but yeah, just the use of language. There's something for everyone, and that's what I really love about the Akutagawa Prize, because it's also like, because it's supposed to be a prize given to young writers, so it's also a really great way to explore new writers in Japan and really be able to push these new writers into their career. I mean, the winner of the Good Book, this is their first nomination, and they won on their first nomination. That is fantastic. So super, super exciting. Congratulations again to DTOPIA and Goethe Says It All. Very, very exciting. I'm excited to see which books. I have a feeling Dotopia is going to get translated right away. But yeah, super, super exciting. And that's it. That's it. I need to just end the video. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time for the 173rd Akutagawa Prize announcement when that comes out in the summer. I believe it comes out in July. So I'll see you then for that. And then I'll see you next week for my next video. So don't forget, come back for all the videos. Come back for all the videos. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. Bye.